Okay, hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Kshakthiree podcast. Today, I have with me Marieen Vijay, founder of Iron Lady Self-Defense Training for Teens and Women. So, at the in today's session, and actually all the podcast episodes in future, we are going to talk about self-defense, self-defense, not just physical, emotional, but even spiritual for women. And I'm sure there are lessons for all of us, not just for women, but even for men to learn from the topics that we will be covering in this podcast. If I can see people joining, feel free to comment about video and audio, though we have checked from our side and we have confirmed that it's clear. So, Marine, shall we start?
Oh, yes, we shall.
Okay. So, Marine, my first question to you is, we are now we are living in an environment where the judicial system is quite capable. We have police force, a capable police force, and we have the men in our families, and the men who care for us and love us. So, why should women still learn self-defense? What is the need?
Okay, so it's a need, I think, not just for women, it's for everyone, boys and girls, men and women. I think everyone should learn self-defense because self-preservation is a basic instinct to every creature. So we've kind of, like you said, because of our, the systems that we have to protect us and to keep us safe, we have kind of lulled ourselves into complacency, maybe due to socialization and maybe because their systems are so effective. But we have kind of gradually outsourced our personal safety. And sometimes we remain a little oblivious to the imminent threats and risks around us. So when something happens, when something untoward happens, we're pretty unprepared for it. And it's kind of a rude awakening. And sometimes it can have fatal, really drastic and fatal consequences, and kind of traumatic too. So post trauma care and recovery, all these are very difficult things, to say the least. But women especially, when we come to it factually and statistically, they are more at risk for various kinds of abuse and violence. So due to our physical and mental attributes of a lot of the social and cultural conditioning that's gone into us, we have boxed ourselves into this stereotypes of ideal womanhood and femininity. So, conforming to beauty identities and perceptions that embrace being delicate and fragile as feminine and being strong as masculine, we kind of have embraced these passive and weak constructs and ideals, and this is kind of compounded the problem because these are victim facilitators, is what we would say they are. It makes us easy targets. So, we have been conditioned to be compassionate victims. We don't and we won't fight back. We can be embarrassed, shamed, into silence. But the threats are real. I mean, we definitely need to learn to defend ourselves because, according to the WHO, 1 in 3 women will face abuse, a violent incidents of abuse and violence, in their lifetimes. In India, it's like 99% of the rapes go totally unreported. And the statistics a few years back was every 16 minutes, there's 100 rapes happening in India, which makes it more than 6 a minute. And these statistics are old and they are not, and they don't include all the other types of abuse and violence that women face on a day to day basis. So it's sad, but every woman has a story to tell. There have been, women who've spoken to me over the years, and every single one of them, there's not an exception, has had an instance in their past, in their present. And for many, it's a story that will remain untold. So, since we have been for the longest time, been discouraged from asserting ourselves and our individuality, for a long time we haven't had a say in the major decisions in our lives. But today we have so much of freedom, much more freedom and opportunity than any generation of women have had, in the history of mankind. Today we are exploring new spaces and environments, and there are new challenges that come with this. So we still carry the burden of those docile and passive stereotypes. So now it's time to unlearn. It's time to own our destiny. It's time to enjoy our freedom without anxiety and fear. So it's high time that we, don't outsource it anymore. We take a little responsibility and learn how to defend ourselves.
Correct, correct. And also, I guess danger never comes by knocking on the door, right?
Correct,
So,
correct.
yeah, yeah, okay. So, Marine, personally, for you, what motivated you to start your training, to start teaching women self-defense? What motivated you? What was the motivation for you?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very physical way. I was very physical growing up. I had two older brothers. There was a lot of pillow fights and wrestling, and I wanted to be included in their games. So I didn't want to be a sissy. They'd say I was a sissy if I cried or whined. So they made me like really tough. I was very, very inspired and influenced by them. So when I was 4 years old, I visited Budokai for the first time. And these boys, they were learning, they had enrolled for karate classes in Bodokai. And when I had gone to visit them to pick them up after class, I was like totally blown away by the energy, the noise of the place. It was it was just too overwhelming for me. So I begged my father for the longest time that I wanted to learn. But he was very clear that girls don't do karate because that was the mindset at that time. So but now things have changed. Everyone wants to learn martial arts because they think somewhere they have connected martial arts with self-defense because it's physical and it's about protection. Martial arts is not self-defense. Martial arts is wonderful. It's about self-perfection. It's about discipline. It's about rules not to hurt each other. There are so many different styles of martial arts, so many forms, and each of these forms take years, maybe decades to master. But when you see self defense, it is an immediate and urgent need. There are no rules of engagement, it's pure survival. So when Shiandai, my master Shiandai Anand Mohan, when he said, it'll be a good idea for you to share your learning and your experience and teach girls and women how to defend themselves, I was honored. I started Iron Lady because as a woman and a mother of daughters, we are so much in the news. Every day we hear about women being compromised or violated, they violated, and families and elders, they're anxious. And as a society, I think it's high time that we do something. We take the options, we take the initiative to equip girls and women to defend themselves. So I'm Lady focuses on teaching them from scratch to unlearn, the conditioning, the docile stereotypes that we've been trained to adhere to. So it teaches them how to stand, how to walk, how predators operate, how victims are chosen, how to be a very unattractive victim. Through strong body language, through strong verbal and non-verbal cues and signals. It teaches them how to be more situationally aware of things happening around them. It teaches them to understand the different threats and risks of understanding conflict, how to de-escalate a confrontation, the importance of time management and planning. There's so much that goes into our personal safety, like verbal strategies, physical skills of how to defend, how to attack, where to attack, to inflict enough damage and pain so that we can get away and we have that window of opportunity to escape. So this is what my journey, in starting the Iron Lady was about.
I found it very interesting. You said how to be an unattractive victim.
Yes, because you should be a handful, you shouldn't be agreeable, you shouldn't be, someone who's easy to control and, and manipulate and influence. And you shouldn't be somebody who's perceived to be weak enough to be embarrassed into being shamed, into being silenced. So if we can
Right.
preempt and prevent it, then and if we can portray ourselves as strong individuals who are capable and confident and would not be quiet and not be obedient, if there was a threat to our safety, I think we have prevented it and we have preempted it, and he's not going to be, looking for a handful. He wants someone who's quiet and who would keep him, uh, you know, from the limelight and hidden. So.
Right. Okay. Uh, did you ever have to go through any such experience where you had to apply your techniques?
Uh, Not really. There was a very foolish incident when I was 22, where I reacted very badly. I reacted in every way I should not have reacted, and it was such a dumb thing to do. So I was 22, I was young, I was stupid. I was in the PFA, the People for Animals. And I was returning from the shelter, which was a little far off. I had to take buses and trains and walk to get there, and buses and trains and walk to get back. And I was walking on Harrington Road in the afternoon on the way back, really tired. It was exhausting, the entire experience. It was high noon, the sun was blazing, and I was walking back home, and I had a cap on. And it was those caps that, I had my plait snapped, the cap was snapped around my plait, and I was pretty exhausted. So suddenly I felt my head swimming, and I almost fell. I couldn't understand what was happening. And then I realized that there were these two guys on a cycle who cycled past, and they had yanked, the guy sitting at the back had yanked my cap off, and they continued going, and I was pretty stunned, and I was angry too, and without thinking I went into this blind rage, and they had gone, they were not even looking at me, they were talking, and I went into this blind rage, and I ran behind them, and I whacked the guy at the back, and they both fell off the cycle. The cycle fell down, they're both on the ground, and the guy I whacked at the back, he got up, and he's a stocky, solid guy in a lungi. He was from a slum nearby, and he was furious. And he kind of, he raised his hand and he whacked me at the side of my head. And his arm was like, it felt like a trunk of a tree. And he whacked me at the side of my head, and I could see stars. My head just exploded in stars. And this got me even more furious. And I whacked him back. I struck him back. And thankfully, there were other people around who came and restrained him before he struck me once more and knocked me into my next life. So they kind of sorted out the altercation, and I went back home dazed. I didn't tell my parents. I told my brothers, and they were furious, quite understandably. It was such a stupid and way to lose your composure and to invite trouble, because these kind of situations, they can really escalate into something much, much more. It can become a really messy, kind of a huge mess, and it'll draw people in communities, and it'll last for a long time, and it'll sometimes, these things never end. So I was so glad that it got, later in hindsight, that it got sorted out, and I went back home safe, uh, to tell the tale. But also, it may not have ended in that day if, I'd let it go on for a bit. It would have been an altercation where the cops would have had to get involved, or the families would have had to get involved, the communities. So I would really, looking back, I think it was such a dumb thing to do, to escalate a situation like that. Sometimes false pride and, anger get the better of us, and we lose our composure. And so that's kind of something that, you know, that had happened. But I remember this time in college where it didn't happen to me. I was waiting at hockey practice with some girls, and there was one girl who came in tears. She was so upset because she had come in the bus, and there were a group of rowdy guys, and they manhandled her, and there was a lot of poking and pinching, and she was in tears. And slowly all these girls started to share their stories, and I was like, kind of, I kind of questioned my femininity at that time, because this incident, it never happened to me. because thankfully I had brothers who, I was quite tomboyish, I was quite sporty, and the way I naturally presented myself was very unattractive and, as a very unattractive and unsuitable victim. So this was something that I've heard a lot about the feedback from other girls and, from women. So,
Oh, that was such an honest uh, analysis of your own act when you were 22. So
yeah.
thanks for that. I think there was a
It's
very
not something to
important,
be proud of. Yeah, I'm not at all proud of the way I reacted. It was stupid and
right,
totally
right.
unnecessary.
Right, right. There is a very important lesson in that incident for young girls, especially,
Yeah,
not to
because most of the
lose your
time it's better
composure.
to, exactly, most of the time, whether it's cat calls or even in incidents like this where, someone takes a cap off my head, it's better not to escalate it and it's better to just get on with your life and get home safe. That's priority and that's what's important.
Correct, correct. Okay. Marine, you just mentioned that you're a mother to two daughters, and what is your message for the society? So, regarding raising kids, so that we have a safer future for not just girls and women, but also for the complete society. We have a safer environment in the future.
Yeah.
So
So yeah.
yes,
So basically, it's like we should realize, I guess, that we're spiritual beings also, that we are all connected for better and for worse. So we all need to be committed, not just to ourselves, but to each other. And if we can encourage positive behaviors and encourage, our next gen through our example to elevate our interactions to a level of refinement, to look after each other, to have each other's back, to have a culture of physical fitness, of health and safety, where we include ourselves, our daughters, our siblings, our neighbors, our friends in routines of physical care and physical fitness. I keep telling people self care is not about grabbing that chocolate and and watching Netflix. It's about improving ourselves mentally and physically so that we have a life that we are proud of, a life that we'd love to lead and experience. So I think when we nurture ourselves and the people around us, and when we feel that connection to each other, I mean, when we form positive connections with everyone, in our community, I think that's when we make a difference.
right, right. I know. Sometimes people ask me also. Like, I teach Karlakattai, which is like a traditional workout. They ask me what is the best way for me to motivate my kids to do it. And I tell them you have to start doing it yourself.
Correct. You have to
You
lead by
have to,
example. And that's
yes,
true.
yes.
And the thing is, we have these models of violence in our head that we think, oh, learning martial arts or learning self-defense, it's rooted in anger and hatred. And it's not something that a good person like me, I like everyone, I love, it is not rooted in love. So, but actually, it is rooted in love. It is rooted in, in the love of yourself, of your family, of your community. We need to protect and preserve ourselves and each other. So it's not like we want to destroy anybody or anything. It's only that we seek to preserve ourselves and our way of life and our families. And so it is rooted in love and not in hatred and anger and
Right.
violence.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Uh, Marine, now you yourself, you have started your training. Training looks great. You posted a picture of the class, and um, it's an unfortunate reality that uh, and it has happened. I know this has happened with some of the women I know that when they went for training to a place, to a school training center, uh, that place itself was not safe. Like there was some kind of conflict with other students or even with the trainer, which is quite an unfortunate situation.
True.
What is your how should we handle this according to you?
Yeah, okay. So it's all about access. What it boils down to is access to women. So, what studies show is that women are most unsafe at home and with family and friends. Okay, so it's only those who have access to you can actually be around to threaten you in any way. So the potential for risk is everywhere. So it is in every forum, whether it's social or professional or educational or recreational. And a martial arts school is no different. You know, like you said, they go to learn the skills to protect themselves, but they so in every forum you have these issues. So as people, I think we have to, realize that boundaries are important. So that's one of the things that we teach in the Iron Lady program. We teach them the different kind of spaces, what boundaries are, why they are important, how to set boundaries, how to maintain boundaries. So it is very important that we pay attention to the kind of environments that we voluntarily place ourselves in, because that is where we could face threat. So um, at the Iron Lady program, we have a diverse lot of girls and women who are taught how to face attacks, who are taught how to attack. We have little girls, I mean, teens, young teens. We have ladies who are a little older who are hitting the half century mark. So we teach them. It's very important because a self defense situation is going to be a very stressful situation. So we teach them, and we teach them with increasing doses of stress. We gradually increase the dose so that they get used to facing violence from another person. They get used to unleashing their own fighting spirit. They get used to attacking back, defending themselves, not freezing. And if they freeze, how to unfreeze. So it's pretty crucial that the first time you face violence is not actually the first time, that you have been trained, that you have had the privilege of training in a dojo, which is a safe and controlled environment where you face attacks that's physical, and you're taught these mental skills of how to deal with your mentality, of your ideas of who you are and how you cannot inflict violence on another person. We kind of try to straighten them out and get them clear and sorted on those things.
Mm, okay. Very important to know boundaries, because uh, even our emotional boundaries and our physical boundaries, it's very important to learn about boundaries, especially in a training place where, in some way, your boundaries, if you're not aware, your boundaries can just automatically dissolve and then the conflict
Correct.
can start, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, very
yes,
important
true.
point.
So when you learn to understand it, when you learn to recognize the signs and to be watchful and attentive to it, that's when it doesn't ever have to come to a confrontation. You can prevent and preempt it. You can buddy up. You can go with friends. You can make sure they're around you. There are ways and means, and the most important thing is you have to check out the school first, because the quality of the schools, it is very, very essential. The atmosphere, the environment, and a very good test is to see who's heading the school, because they set the culture that permeates through the other levels. They set the code of conduct. They set the rules of engagement, and the behaviors that are accepted and not accepted. So it's very, very essential.
Okay, okay. So, anyone who's interested, women who are interested in joining any training school, it's better to do some kind of, it's better to do some good amount of research,
A little
before.
bit of research, definitely, and just buddy up. Go with a few people, a few known people. So it's not like you're alone. Be watchful. Get to a self-defense class. Martial arts, like I said, is amazing. I mean, it's the beautiful forms and styles, but it takes years. And a self-defense class will equip you immediately in the next few months to watch out for these red flag these kind of behaviors and reactions.
Right, right. Okay. Marine, do women need any kind of, I'm talking about self-defense training. Do women need any kind of preparation before joining, let's say, your training or any other's self-defense training program? Do we need any kind of preparation?
Okay, I can speak for my self-defense program. You don't need any preparation. You can just walk in because when we start the course, we tell them you need to, the days that you don't have the sessions, you need to start getting a little physical, get your fitness, in check, get your health in check, eat properly, start walking if you're not used to any physical exercise, then start brisk walking, put on music, get your cardio up, do body weight exercises. Even if you can't join a gym, there's so much that you can do just in your room. And to get the routine, get it into your routine. Don't leave it for the later part of the day. Get it done in the morning where when you're on an empty stomach at the beginning of the day. So you're done and sorted with that, and you don't have to come back to that in the middle of all your other responsibilities and duties. So, and when they start class, we gradually build them up to their levels of fitness, and we train them with physical activity, with exercises that are fitness oriented. So it's not just general stuff. It's like we combine it so that they are able to internalize these movements and the way they have to move and the way they have to react. So we train them along the way, and we try to get their fitness up to all the movements that would be, like ducking and lunging. So we build the fitness around these movements. So the warm up session is also something that helps them get used to the movements, at a regular basis, so they can react and internalize their self protection and react at that, at the time of
Right,
confrontation like that. So this adds
right,
a lot to their confidence. So fitness is very important, because even if you need to just turn and run, sometimes all it needs to defend yourself, just turn and run for the next 25 or 50 meters. So running, I think, is the most important, exercise, because we don't train women to stand and finish a fight. You're not trying to be a heroine. You're not trying to hammer someone, and prove that you're an amazing, karateka or a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner. You're just trying to inflict enough damage to get away from there and get home safe.
right. Sorry, 1 minute. Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, that's some disturbance with the audio. Am I audible?
Oh, yes, you are. I can
Yeah,
hear you.
okay, okay. So, yes, there are some questions from the audiences, and those who are watching, please feel free to post your questions here. And we have, I think, we'll just take 5 minutes more to answer the questions from the audience. Mr. Ravi Shankar from Tamil Nadu, uh, he's asking, is your self-defense training, I think he's asking about your self-defense training, is it only for teens and women? Or,
Correct. Yes, no, it's not for men. It's called Iron Lady, and it's a women's only program. There are no men
right,
around when training is happening. We have women from different ethnicities, different ages, and it's a very safe environment. It's women's only.
okay, okay. Um, Arun's comment is, hi all, great that you're doing this. Will have my mom and wife watch this. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's
Okay.
amazing. Nice.
Yes. Yes. So there are no more questions. So I think we can wrap up a bit. Before that, before we wrap up, I would like to tell you that Marine is doing this excellent self-defense training program for women in Chennai. And if you are watching this video, especially on YouTube, the details to contact Marine are in the description itself. And in case if you are not able to find it, feel free to get in touch with me, and I will send you to Marine for further inquiry. So Yes. So thanks a lot, Marine, for your time. There were quite very important lessons for young girls, especially from your experience and what you shared with us. So
Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much for your
Thanks a
time.
lot.
And
Thank you so
I
much for
think I'll
doing this.
see you soon in the class.
Oh yes, please do.
Yes.
Come, yes. I
Yes.
missed you the
Yes.
last
Oh,
time.
yes. Okay. Thank you. And
Thanks a lot,
take care.
Trisha.
Have a nice evening. Thank you. Bye.
Take care,
Bye.
all of you. Stay safe, stay strong. Bye bye.
Bye.